If you make good money but still have nothing left at the end of the month, let me tell you something that might feel a bit uncomfortable. The problem is not your salary. And I know that goes against everything you've been told because you were taught that earning more solves everything. But in reality, that belief might be keeping you even more stuck. Now think about this with me. How can someone earn well and still feel financially tight? It doesn't make sense unless there's something no one is telling you. And that's exactly what you're going to understand here. Because today, you're going to discover the invisible mistakes that keep high-income people broke and how to fix them in a practical way. But before we continue, drop a comment below. Do you feel like you earn well, but your money just disappears? I want to know if this happens to you too. And make sure to like and subscribe, because this kind of content can literally change your financial life if you apply it the right way.
You've seen this happen more times than you'd like to admit. People with high salaries, strong incomes, even above average. But at the end of the month, they feel that strange emptiness when they look at their bank account. Nothing is left. And the most curious part? The more you earn, the stronger that financial pressure seems to become. It feels contradictory, almost unfair, but it's not. It's predictable and extremely common when real financial education is missing. There's a silent belief that dominates most people's minds. If I make more money, my life will be solved. But in practice, that's not what happens. You increase your income, but you don't change your financial mindset, and everything stays the same or gets worse. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes. More money goes in, but it keeps leaking out. And this is where one of the biggest problems lies. No one taught you how to manage money, only how to chase it. And here comes the truth that few people are willing to face. The problem isn't how much you earn, but how you think about money. It might hurt a little to accept this, but it's also what opens the door for change. Because in the end, financial control, organization, and strong financial habits matter far more than any salary increase. You've probably seen or lived situations where income increases, but financial peace doesn't follow. That's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. A silent pattern built by automatic decisions, small daily rewards, and a disorganized emotional relationship with money. And the most dangerous part? It starts to feel normal, like living without leftovers is just adult life being hard. But if the problem isn't your salary, then what's really behind it? This is where many people begin to realize they may have believed the wrong thing for too long. And when that realization hits, an even bigger illusion appears. You've probably thought, or maybe still think, that the turning point in your financial life is earning more money. A bigger salary, a promotion, a new income stream. It feels logical to believe that would solve everything. After all, with more money coming in, there should be more left at the end of the month, right? But ironically, this is exactly where many people start to lose control even more. What almost no one realizes is that as income increases, expenses grow too, and fast. A better car, a bigger apartment, more comfort, more rewards. Everything starts to feel justified, almost deserved. And this is where a silent but powerful concept comes in: lifestyle inflation. You don't improve your life, you just make it more expensive. And without realizing it, you trade financial progress for the appearance of success. In practice, it works like this. Before, you lived with less and made it work. Now, with more money, you create a new standard, and that new standard becomes the minimum acceptable. What used to be luxury becomes necessity. And when that happens, your financial organization gets tighter and tighter, even with a higher salary. It's like leveling up in a game, but increasing the difficulty at the same rate. A simple example: someone earning $3,000 dreams of owning a car. When they start earning $10,000, they buy the car, but along with it comes insurance, maintenance, fuel, financing. The invisible cost grows, and the money that seemed like extra disappears. These decisions don't come from logic, they come from emotion, comparison, and the need for validation. And without a strong financial mindset, this cycle repeats endlessly. And here's the most dangerous part. You start believing you still don't earn enough when the problem was never the amount. It was the standard you built around it. And if this is already happening without you noticing, then something even deeper is operating behind your decisions. Now comes a shift that completely changes how you see money. It doesn't disappear because of a lack of income, it disappears because of behavior. It may sound subtle, but it changes everything. Because deep down, what drains your financial life isn't big decisions, it's small choices repeated every day, almost automatically, without any real financial awareness. You don't wake up and decide, I'm going to spend everything today. No, what happens is much quieter. It's the impulse order, the purchase to relieve stress, the feeling of I deserve this. These are quick, emotional decisions that go unnoticed, but when combined, they build a powerful pattern, and by the time you realize it, the money is gone. No planning, no intention, no real financial structure. The problem is that most people believe they control their money, when in reality, they are constantly reacting to stimuli. Promotions, social media, comparison with others, emotional triggers, all of this influences your decisions without you realizing it. It's like money has taken the wheel while you just follow along. And without a structured financial mindset, this becomes routine. A simple example, you open your phone just to look, see something interesting, feel the urge, and buy it. Not because you needed it, but because it felt small, harmless. Now multiply that by days, weeks, months. This type of behavior destroys any attempt to build strong financial habits. It's not about big mistakes, it's about consistency in the small ones. And when this pattern settles in, you enter a cycle where money comes in and already has a destination before you even notice, as if there's an invisible system pulling every dollar out of your account. And if you don't see this mechanism, you'll keep playing the wrong game without realizing you're trapped in something much bigger.
There's a cycle that traps most people, and the most dangerous part is that it feels like progress. You earn more money, feel immediate relief, almost like you're finally getting somewhere. But shortly after, a subtle thought appears, now I can live better. And just like that, without realizing it, you've entered a loop that destroys any attempt at real financial control. Here's how it works. You increase your income, automatically raise your lifestyle, and start spending more. Not out of necessity, but adaptation. The brain quickly turns comfort into obligation, and what used to be enough is no longer satisfying. This process happens silently, without conscious effort, eroding your financial structure while you believe you're improving. What's even more interesting is that this cycle comes with a sense of entitlement. I worked for this, I deserve this. And yes, that makes sense. The problem is when it becomes a pattern. Because at that point, every increase in income is already committed before it even arrives. You don't grow financially, you just maintain a more expensive lifestyle. And without a strong financial mindset, this becomes a comfortable prison. It's practically an automatic system. More money comes in, more money goes out. And the bigger the flow, the faster it disappears. It almost feels like a poorly managed business where everything that comes in already has an immediate destination. And in the middle of all this, you stay busy, working more, earning more, but never seeing real results in your financial habits. And here's what few people realize. This loop doesn't break on its own. In fact, it gets stronger over time. And if you keep playing this game, you'll notice that no matter how much you earn, the feeling of always chasing something never goes away. And that's exactly why most people end up choosing a solution that seems logical, but in reality only makes things worse.
When financial pressure builds, the most common, almost automatic response is to think, I need to make more money. And at first glance, that seems extremely logical. After all, more income should mean more left over, more peace, more freedom. But without realizing it, you might just be feeding the same problem, only on a larger scale, without fixing the root. What happens in practice is simple. You increase your income, but you carry the same financial habits with you. The same impulsive decisions, the same emotional triggers, the same consumption patterns. The result? More money coming in and more money going out. It's like increasing the size of a leak without fixing the hole. Instead of solving your life, you accelerate the cycle that was already trapping you. Many people take on a second job, look for extra income, try new projects, but never stop to adjust their financial structure. And this creates a dangerous illusion of progress. Because externally, it looks like growth, more money, more movement, but internally, nothing has changed. And when the foundation doesn't change, the outcome doesn't change either. It just becomes more sophisticated. There's a phrase that might sound harsh, but explains everything. More money doesn't solve financial problems, it amplifies them. If you have good habits, it strengthens them. If you have bad habits, it exposes them even more. That's why, without a strong financial mindset, earning more can be the worst solution you choose, because it keeps you comfortable inside the mistake. And this is where most people truly get lost, because they keep trying to solve a behavioral problem with more money. But when you start looking closely, you realize the real game was never about how much comes in, but where it goes. And this is where things start to become much clearer. If you pay close attention, you'll realize that every dollar that passes through your hands always ends up in one of 4 destinations. And here's the insight that changes everything. It's not how much you earn that defines your financial life, it's where you direct that money. This simple understanding can completely transform your financial mindset and your level of control. The first destination is the status zone. This is where money is used to appear more than you really are. Expensive clothes, cars beyond what's necessary, decisions driven by comparison. It creates social validation, but silently destroys your financial structure. A clear example? Upgrading your phone every year without needing to, just to keep up. It seems small, but reveals a dangerous pattern. The second is the comfort zone. Here, money is used to create a stable, predictable, but expensive life. High fixed expenses, subscriptions, lifestyle standards that are hard to sustain. It's not about showing off, it's about settling into a life that consumes everything you earn. And without noticing, you build a structure that demands more and more income just to maintain itself. The third is the illusion zone. This is the territory of impulsive decisions, quick dopamine, purchases that feel good in the moment but add no real value afterward. It's the just this once, the I deserve it, the it's cheap anyway. And here's the key. It's not about the amount, it's about frequency. This behavior is one of the biggest silent destroyers of financial control. And finally, the least popular but the most powerful, the construction zone. This is where investments, assets, knowledge, and growth live. This is where money starts working for you. People with a strong financial mindset intentionally direct energy here, even if they start small. And once you see this difference, you begin to understand why some people move forward while others stay stuck.
At some point, you realize it's not about money, it's about behavior. And that realization changes everything. Because when you understand that your financial reality is a direct reflection of your financial mindset, you stop looking for external solutions and start adjusting what truly matters. And believe me, that's far more powerful than any raise. Most people spend their lives trying to optimize what they earn, while completely ignoring how they think. But money follows patterns. It responds to your habits, your priorities, your repeated decisions. If you don't change that, nothing really changes. That's why 2 people with the same income can live completely different lives. One builds, the other just survives. And here's something few people face. You don't need to earn more to start changing your financial life. You need to stop wasting financial energy. Small decisions made with intention begin to create space. And over time, that space turns into opportunity. That's how financial control begins, not with big changes, but with awareness of what already exists. A simple exercise. Look at your last 10 expenses. How many were truly necessary? How many were automatic? This kind of reflection starts to reprogram how you act. And when you bring awareness into the process, your financial organization stops being reactive and becomes strategic. You move out of autopilot and take control. And when this shift happens, you begin to see that the game was never about money itself. It was about how you behave with it. And that opens the door to a practical, simple, yet powerful change. One that almost no one applies, but that separates builders from those who remain stuck.
Most people follow an almost automatic pattern. They earn money, pay bills, spend on what they want, and then see what's left. And here's the problem. There's almost never anything left. This model feels normal, but it's the main reason why financial progress gets stuck. Because in reality, you're always putting yourself last in your own financial life. Now, there's a simple shift that completely redefines this game. Reverse the order. Before any expense, before any bell, you set aside a portion for yourself to invest, to build, to grow. This is the principle known as pay yourself first. And it may sound basic, but in practice, it's a turning point in your financial mindset. Here's how it works. You get paid, automatically set aside a percentage, 10%, 20%, whatever is possible, and only then organize the rest of your life with what's left. This forces adaptation. And the most interesting part? You adjust. Because human beings always adapt to the standard they create. This simple shift strengthens your financial structure and builds consistency in your habits. A practical example. Instead of waiting for money to be left over to invest, you schedule an automatic transfer to a separate account or investment as soon as your income arrives. It could be a broad ETF, like a market index fund, or even a high-yield account. The point here isn't the amount, it's the behavior. It's the system working without depending on your emotions. And when you do this consistently, something interesting happens. Money starts to stay. For the first time, you see real progress. And that changes your relationship with money in a deep way, opening the door to the next level of control, where it's not just about saving, it's about preventing bad decisions from happening in the first place.
There's a point almost no one realizes. Discipline is not what fixes your financial life. What fixes it is the environment you create. Because in practice, relying only on willpower is a trap. At some point, you get tired, distracted, overwhelmed, and fall back into old patterns. That's why people with good intentions still fail at financial control. The real solution is to create friction for bad decisions and ease for good ones. In other words, make it harder to spend impulsively and easier to invest automatically. This completely changes your financial structure because you stop depending on constant decisions and start operating through a system. And systems, unlike motivation, work even on bad days. A simple and highly effective example: remove your credit cards from shopping apps, require extra steps before completing a purchase, or even implement a 24-hour waiting rule before any unplanned expense. This breaks the emotional impulse. At the same time, you can automate monthly investments, building consistency in your habits without effort. Another powerful move is reducing the number of decisions you need to make. The more you decide, the more you drain your energy. And the more tired you are, the more impulsive you become. That's why people with a strong financial mindset simplify everything. Automatic bills, automatic investments, clear limits. Less choice, more control. And when you start structuring this kind of environment, something shifts quietly. You stop fighting yourself. The system starts working in your favor. And that opens the door to understanding something even deeper. Something that completely redefines what it actually means to be rich.
There's a common misconception that traps people for years: the belief that wealth is directly tied to how much you earn. But in reality, this doesn't hold up. You've seen people with extremely high incomes living under pressure, and others with more modest incomes building stability. And that happens because wealth is not about income. It's about retention and growth, which depend entirely on your financial mindset. Think about it this way. If you earn a lot but spend everything, you're not building anything. You're just maintaining an expensive lifestyle. But if you earn and retain a portion, invest it, and multiply it, you begin to create a foundation. And that foundation is what defines your freedom. That's why real financial control isn't about what comes in, but what stays and what it becomes over time. A simple example: two people earn the same amount. One invests consistently every month, even if it's small. The other spends everything trying to keep up with a certain lifestyle. After a few years, the difference between them isn't small, it's massive.
because one developed building habits while the other maintained consumption habits, and time amplifies this silently. And here's a key point. Money sitting still loses value, but money directed well grows. Investments in productive assets like index funds, ETFs, solid stocks, or even businesses allow money to start working for you. This strengthens your financial structure because you stop depending only on your direct effort. When you truly understand this, your perspective changes. You stop focusing only on earning and start focusing on building. And that shift creates space for something essential that many people ignore until it's too late: protection. Because there's no point in building if you're not prepared to keep it.
There's a silent detail that separates those who maintain stability from those who live in constant financial tension: protection. Because it doesn't matter if you earn well, it doesn't matter if you invest, if you don't have a safety base. And here's the reality few people like to face. The lack of an emergency fund is not just a financial problem, it's an emotional one that directly impacts your decisions. Without a safety net, any unexpected event becomes a crisis. A car problem, a medical expense, a drop in income, all of this forces quick decisions, and almost always bad ones. You sell what you shouldn't, go into debt, compromise your future to fix the present, and in that process, your entire financial structure collapses. Now, when you build a reserve, something changes deeply. You gain time to think, to decide calmly, to avoid acting out of desperation. And that is one of the most valuable assets you can have. A practical rule is to keep 3 to 6 months of your living expenses in a safe and accessible place, like a high liquidity account. This strengthens your habits and creates a solid foundation. And no, this is not idle money. It's strategic money. It protects everything you're building. People with a strong financial mindset understand that growth without protection is fragile, because one unexpected event can destroy years of effort if there's no structure behind it. And when you build space, you begin to operate at a different level, with more clarity, more security, and far less pressure. But there's still one silent mistake that holds many people back, even with good income, strong habits, and some level of organization.
There's a behavior that seems harmless, almost normal, but completely blocks financial progress: living at the limit of your income. In other words, earning and spending almost everything, month after month. And here's the problem. When you live like this, you eliminate any margin for growth. Financial control disappears because there's no room for error or evolution. Many people believe this is inevitable, part of reality. But in truth, it's a constructed pattern, because every time your income increases, your expenses follow. And without realizing it, you stay stuck in the exact same place, just with bigger numbers. Your financial structure looks active, but doesn't generate real progress. The most dangerous part is that this lifestyle creates a false sense of stability. Bills are paid, everything is working, so it feels fine. But one unexpected event reveals the fragility. And that's when many realize they never actually had a solid structure, just a temporary balance. Now think about this. If every dollar that comes in already has a destination, how will you invest? How will you build? How will you escape this cycle? You won't, because growth requires surplus. It requires space. People with a strong financial mindset understand that living below your means is not sacrifice, it's strategy. And when you start creating that margin, even if it's small, something changes. You stop just maintaining your life and start building a new one. And this is exactly where one of the smartest moves comes in: creating a simple system that organizes everything without complexity. After understanding all this, many people make a classic mistake. They try to overcomplicate things. Complex spreadsheets, dozens of rules, excessive control, and in the end, they give up. But the truth is simple. If the system is complicated, it won't last. And without consistency, there is no real financial control. The secret is not complexity, it's clarity and repetition. An efficient model only needs 3 pillars: a portion of money to live, a portion to invest, and a portion for safety. That's it. This division creates structure, direction, and balance. You don't need to think all the time, you just need to follow the system. And that strengthens your financial organization naturally, without mental overload. In practice, it can look like this.
60% for living expenses, 20% for investments, and 20% for savings and protection, adjustable to your reality. The exact percentages don't matter as much as the intention behind them, and most importantly, the consistency. This structure builds strong habits because it turns decisions into routine. Now comes the most important part, automation. As soon as money comes in, it's already divided. You eliminate decision fatigue and drastically reduce the risk of mistakes. People with a strong financial mindset don't rely on daily discipline. They create systems that work independently of it. And when this system starts running, your financial life stops being chaotic and becomes predictable. You start seeing progress, control, direction. And this is where many people realize something that changes everything, that the problem was never money itself.
After all this, it becomes impossible to ignore the obvious. The problem was never your salary. It wasn't lack of opportunity, bad luck, or simply not earning enough. What was really holding your financial life back was something much quieter: the absence of a system, awareness, and control. Without that, any amount of money follows the same path, regardless of size. Many people spend years believing they're almost there, that they just need to earn a little more to finally breathe. But that feeling is deceptive, because without a structured financial mindset, more money doesn't bring freedom. It just creates a more expensive version of the same problems. And that explains why so many people remain stuck, even while advancing in their careers. When you look clearly, everything comes down to 3 pillars: how you think, how you decide, and how you organize. These 3 elements shape your financial habits and determine your true level of control. Without them, you react. With them, you build. And here's the most important point. None of this depends on how much you earn today. You can start with what you have. Small changes applied consistently create results that seem invisible at first, but become massive over time. That's how real financial organization is built, from the inside out. And when this realization truly hits, you understand that you've always had more control than you thought. You just weren't using it. And that leads to an inevitable question. What happens if you keep doing everything exactly the same from now on?
Now, the question that really matters is no longer how much you earn. It's what are you going to do with what you already earn today? Because if you've understood everything up to this point, you've realized that repeating the same patterns will only take you to the same place. Maybe with bigger numbers, but with the same feeling of always chasing something. So let me challenge you. How many times have you promised yourself you'd get better organized and didn't? How many times did you think the next raise would fix everything? What if this time you actually decided to do things differently? Not with temporary motivation, but with a simple system, new financial habits, and real control. The truth is, no one is going to do this for you. There is no perfect moment, no ideal condition. There is only decision. And the longer you delay, the more time you lose trapped in this invisible cycle. But at the same time, all it takes is starting, small, simple, consistent, for your financial mindset and structure to begin changing for real. Now, I want to hear from you. What was your biggest insight from this? What did you realize you need to change immediately? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this content made sense to you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here you'll learn how to build something most people never do. In the end, the choice is yours. Continue living at the limit, or finally take control and build a life where money works for you, not the other way around.